Good afternoon, Prime, and everyone else on this call. My name is Don House from the Exeter cohort.
QQ.
QQQ.
I worked on a team alongside Gabrielle Balusik, Jessica Wynn, Emily Garber, and Heather Scheil, and we are excited to talk about our project with Canomiks. Canomiks was founded by a team of world-leading academics and scientists with over 50 years of combined experience in the fields of bioinformatics, genomics, clinical science, and pharmacology. Their CEO, Lena, received her MBA from MIT Sloan and is an associate professor of surgery at Harvard Medical School. Canomics is developing testing methods to ensure the impact of dietary supplement ingredients such as turmeric and CBD on the human body, down to how it functions with our own DNA. They are developing tools to help measure what is happening when we take our daily dose of health. Because so many supplements are living plants, efficacy and benefits can greatly vary due to harvest time, strain, location, and climate. Canomics is measuring that efficacy batch by batch and test by test. While they intend to allow for the testing of any and every functional ingredient, they are initially limiting their scope to just CBD due to intense industry demand. And now, CBD suppliers and manufacturers are turning to Canomics for testing so they can differentiate their products, ensure safety, consistency, and the value of their ingredients. They have the tools in place through the years of education, algorithmic development, and research to measure the safety and genetic interactions of these ingredients for manufacturers, suppliers, brands, health centers, and of course, the individual buying the product off the shelf. While Canomics is doing groundbreaking work, their systems are new and undeveloped. So I'm going to hand it over to Gabrielle to talk about the systemic issues that Canomics faces.
Thank you, Don. While currently subject to the same archaic redundancies that plague labs throughout the industry, Canomics envisions something new. The current industry standards are mostly analog and require some dedicated manual follow-up in the form of phone calls and emails with their clients. It leaves a lot of responsibility on the individual to keep track of their tests, samples, results, and contracts. This causes extra work, time spent, and potential losses in samples. It also takes focus away from other important work for both Canomics and its customers. Administrators aren't aware of any problems or delays unless they proactively check for them. Canomics wants to find an easier way to do business and ultimately scale up their operation. My team and I had the opportunity to propose a new digital dashboard for customers and administrators to manage ingredient samples for testing, tracking, and results progress. Our goal was to create a more seamless customer service experience and allow for easier communication and sample tracking, as well as finding ways to build customer confidence with transparency and an intuitive user flow. Since the dashboard didn't exist yet, we were starting from scratch. Once we learned about Canomics and identified goals for the project, we began our research. I will now hand it over to Jessica to talk more about our research process.
Thanks, Gabrielle. My team and I conducted initial research, including a competitive audit, empathy mapping, and feature desirability survey to gain a deeper understanding of the problem we were solving and possible solutions that may already exist. We sent out sketches of features with descriptions in a Kano analysis. This is a survey that measures whether a feature is desired by users, required by users, or unexpectedly delights and surprises users. We learned that most features we were ideating, such as contract status tracking and notification, were important to include in our prototype. We also learned that we could deprioritize some features. We removed a feature that allows suppliers to find alternative products in case of supply issues. We learned a lot about the existing process of having samples tested and the many pain points for both customers and Canomic administrators. From what we gather in our research, we built out a map showing the current and future state journey for the user, pinpointing each step in their process and finding specific opportunities for improvement. we continue to talk to users in the industry. And from these evaluations, we learned a lot about the opportunities we had to help reinforce authenticity and integrity in the way Canomics data is communicated to users. The current process includes what are called certificates of analysis. They are generated from third-party testing labs, and their information can be both fabricated and confusing. They are generally science-heavy representations of important data that can go over some customers' heads. Those selling their products are often left with only anecdotal feedback from customers, and finding the right product can be a game of trial and error. There's a real opportunity for the authenticity of results and being able to clearly communicate that value to the end consumer. Now, Emily is going to show you the prototype.
Thanks, Jessica. Now let's follow our new user, Tony. Tony owns a CBD company that buys hemp from farmers and processes them into tinctures and capsules. They're constantly getting questions about what makes their product special, and they heard about Canomiks from colleagues in the industry. They want in. Tony heads to the main website to request more information. Once their account is activated by the administrator, they receive an email to click in, through, and log in. They're asked to confirm the information Canomiks already has on file, which is great because they've already filled out a lot of forms to sign up. They also choose to share account access with their coworkers, so they're not responsible for constantly forwarding and sharing information. Next, they get to choose how often they want to receive status change notifications in their email. Tony's work is pretty time sensitive, so they opt to be notified anytime a change occurs. Great, so Tony is logged in and they're ready to submit a test. Tony just completed a new batch of their Relax tincture, and they're so curious to know about its efficacy since there was a bit of a drought earlier in the year, which they worry may have affected the harvest quality. So Tony starts submitting a test by selecting a statement of work, which is essentially a contract defining how many samples the company agrees to have tested. Since the price also changes based on how many samples are tested at a time, the price auto-calculates before submission for full transparency. This helps Tony track expenses better and plan the best price for their business margins. Next, Tony enters their sample details, such as sample format, harvest date, and extraction method, into an easy-to-use table. In the future, this helps both Tony and Canomiks better understand exactly what variables affect their ingredient's efficacy. They can choose to include their organization name on the results Canomiks uses or not. Tony thinks it's a good idea and decides to include it in the hopes that people will find their product via Canomiks in the future. Throughout the data entry process, Tony is relieved that the information is auto-saving, so they can complete the forms in small pieces instead of all at once. So they add a tracking number and they hit submit. This sends an alert to the administrator to let them know a new batch is on its way. A couple days later, Tony receives an email letting them know their sample has arrived and been accepted at the lab. They log into their dashboard to check it out. They see the status on their test has been updated to received. They appreciate how easy it is to see the chain of custody for their sample, and it doesn't require a single email or phone call. The vital information is just there. A couple days later, an email arrives informing Tony that their test results are in. They head back to the dashboard and see a summary of their sample results at the top and the top genes that are affected by their CBD. They appreciate the simple language and clear explanations, both visually and in text, and they feel like they understand what this data means for their sample and their customers. Once the testing is complete, they can easily download or share these results to pass along to suppliers or the end consumer. They notice a Canomiks branded dynamic watermark on their copy, and they appreciate the extra security and authentication measures Canomiks has taken while sharing their test results. In an unregulated industry, this helps authenticate, validate, and differentiate their products from the rest of the pack. This is what they paid for when they got into business with Canomiks. So Tony is on their way to soon having an account full of archived and comparable test results and to having a deeper understanding of what makes their products work best. I'll now hand it off back to Don to explain some safeguards we included to ensure things don't go awry.
Thanks for that demonstration of our solution, Emily. So sure, Tony just breezed through that interactive prototype, entered their samples, and got their test results in an idyllic and streamlined fashion. But as we all know, things can definitely go wrong for any number of reasons. For instance, what if Tony tried to submit a number of samples that's over a particular contract's capacity? An error message appears letting them know that they either need to scale down this request or select from a new statement of work to carry forward. This page helps Tony with their record keeping, which they would have previously had to do by hand. They can choose the best pricing for their business margins and avoid the unexpected costs of sending in too many or too few samples. Also, they can renew their contract if they want to send in more samples. Sometimes events outside of Canomiks' control can delay testing times. Here they are notified that a shortage in testing materials is going to cause a slight delay in their results. Despite this setback, Tony appreciates being able to easily spot where their sample is in the testing process without calling or emailing. On top of that, there's an updated estimation for a completion date so they can plan ahead. Meanwhile, the Canomiks administrator also receives a delay notification from the lab and is able to reach out with any additional customer support Tony may need because of the delay. Lastly, Canomiks envisions an integration with a shipping company such as USPS or FedEx, but our stakeholder mentioned that they plan on launching without this partnership. We learned that it was important for users to be able to enter sample details without having gone to the post office for a shipping label just yet. To reflect that, on our dashboard, Tony can skip adding a tracking number for the time being and add it once they have it. Until then, they are reminded by a visible alert on the top of the dashboard. Requiring that a user adds a tracking number before the sample can be submitted helps avoid lost samples, which can be costly for both parties. This also helps Canomiks know to expect a shipment of samples, which in turn informs them to make space in their labs and their workload. So now that we've gone through our proposed solution, I'll hand it off to Heather to bring it on home.
Thank you, Don. At the beginning of this project, we sought to understand the issues facing Canomiks as they launched this earth-shaking technology into the world. Our solution hits on these key design principles: clear communication, transparency, and enabling an intuitive user flow. The dashboard helps Canomiks and their customers effortlessly stay linked at all times. It will reduce the frustration, time, and extra work of tracking and submitting samples, allowing both to focus on what's most important. Customers can easily know where samples are at all times, plan for delays, and receive data and results that have a positive impact on their business. The dashboard is a key part of helping connect customers to this groundbreaking testing method that helps them understand and improve the efficacy and safety of their products. Now that we have this interactive prototype up and running, we'd love to run some usability tests with users to get a feel of just how usable this iteration is. It's important to mention that Canomiks is building out a dashboard and planning to launch a similar one like ours this year. We wish them the very best as they take this information we have provided them and move forward to their launch date. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you taking the time to learn about Canomiks. Thank you to Lena and Ashley at Canomiks for the chance to work with them on this amazing project. Thank you to all of our research participants. Additionally, we would love to thank our cohort and our instructors, Angie, Kyer, and Kelly, for the unwavering support. Once again, we are Heather Scheil, Don House, Gabrielle Bayusik, Emily Garber, and Jessica Wynn.